Hey, so I just wanted to give a kind of little, not necessarily a day in the life, but a kind of more of a kind of peek into, not necessarily my process, because I don't really have much of a process, of aside from basically things coming to me unwittingly in a kind of uh, kind of almost in a first draft kind of first thought, best thought kind of manner where the ideas like are coming elsewhere and I have to kind of hone them in and find a way of whittling them down into a sensible kind of rational thing if that's even possible. But and then there's different things. So like for example, I have like two, not necessarily left brain, right brain, but I have two main modes that I can at least reduce into some uh, discernible uh, realms, I guess, for lack of a better word. And that's one of them, which is basically the what I kind of mentioned, which is stuff that enters totally unwarranted, unelicited. It basically comes to me, and it's like I have to kind of, it's just like in the heat of the moment, spur of the moment, it just like comes to me. And sometimes it's because I'm listening to something or a book or a piece of music, and it just kind of moves me into action, like a kind of thing. It's like and it's not necessarily, it's more of a passive thing, I'd say. And then the other one is stuff like this short story that I've just titled "The Sick Man," which is part and parcel of my larger work. Any other way but down, but it's probably gonna kind of, I'm gonna just release it on its own terms, and I really want to hone it down. But this one is like meditated. It's takes a while. It takes a while to like. Then this, the sick man, like the first thing of it, it's just like okay, so it's very, you can see it out on the page like that. That was like that wasn't a very some of its first draft, like right from that my head into the page is what you kind of see as the end result. But like for example, the first thing, it's like the sick man, who I refer to as the sick man throat. The sick man took one long look in the mirror and evidently, as deduced by his deeply pained expression, didn't like what he saw. Skin crumpled and weathered over the years into a diabolical grayscale with pockets of pocket marks. I'm sorry, pock marks. I meant pock marks. Sorry. Scattered all about his face. With what little muscle he had hung loosely and piddly from the bone like a chicken. He was 49. To him, this was unacceptable. After all, he was born in an era when health and fitness seemed to be at its finest. Sure, there may have been a handful of men he crossed paths with who had similar long faces and bony, almost skeletal structures and phenomena only known as skinny fat. Something, Dorothy, his ex-wife, was rude or honest, depending on the way he chose to see it, pointed out, but they were collectively viewed as less than. And the fact that he was lumped into that category plagued him. So again, I still have to flesh through this whole entire thing, and I've got most of basically the core, just the meat of it out of there, but I just have to like, I don't know, just bring it down and, like commas in the right place and super precise, exact stuff, which I'm not really good at. It's not my forte, but I did with my first novel, so I'm gonna try to do it with at least a short story. So, um, anyway, so this is another thing which is like coming from like a totally different place, but obviously, it might not be that different. But yeah, it's like something kind of a prose poem that I got that came to me in the middle of weed whacking yesterday. Weirdly enough, but anyway, so it goes like Miranda, and this is all kind of, I haven't edited any of this yet, so it's like coming straight from some of it's like voice text to speech because I was like I couldn't really type it out really. Well, I could, but it was just like I would have lost the idea. But anyway, Miranda, with her soft, inquiring eyes geared up toward the sun, sometimes wondered about Christopher McCandless disappearing into that unforgiving, mindless, strangling thick of the Alaskan wilderness, with the only patches of greenery and a few disparate shrubs to offer, and most of all that archaic bust devoid of passengers, entrenched in that great outdoor as he straddled out for the place to feel virtually free once and for all, entombed in that bleak, desolate, but loving, penultimate, serene asylum of nature. Even though he was doomed, Miranda didn't cry for Christopher McCandless. Not because she didn't feel any empathy for the drastic situation he found himself in, but because she didn't want to be yet another one of those sorry, overly cautious saps, always pitying and saying, "Oh, what a shame! It was that's so sad that so and so died so young. He could have done so much with his life had he just stayed home." But she ruminated on that photograph of Christopher smiling, that somewhat wry, with a hint of solemnity, but by no means desperate smile, as he shed all that weight and could find nothing but wild berries to eat, and bravely accepted his fate. No, she didn't cry. So I was trying to do like a bit of a refrain there, but I don't know, I just kind of doing that. And then another thing came kind of adjacent, somewhat like related to that, is something I wrote about trailers, I guess. Like, I wonder about all those lonesome trailers out in the wilderness. I wonder what stories they have to tell, hidden, wrapped inside them, like a metamorphosized cocoon. Occurred to me that you probably can't see the text, so I'm just gonna, whatever. Maybe some pleasant old man used to join their, sojourn there. I meant sojourn there, okay. Went there in the summer of the early 70s with his plaid hunting outfit and a cradling a Remington over his shoulder. Like now, just realizing revision. Eager not to kill that wildlife that nature's bounty had to offer, but only to ruminate on the 60-odd years that he spent out here as a kid. Since he spent out here as a kid. I see one trailer firmly parked and abandoned, evidently due to the provincial fire that consumed it, partially devouring it with a ravenous, hungry, yet somehow prurient flames. And even though 1/3 of the trailer is torched, exposing its insides like a sluggish old whale exploded on the beach, it still triumphantly rests, its stillness a testament to its pervading spirit. Anyway, that's kind of all I have. But yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that. I have like at least maybe even a dozen different stories, and I also still want to go over kind of a section by section thing I have here that I've done all, there's like other things different stories that I also want to kind of put out there as well. But for the most part, I think I'm just gonna try to focus on this new insurge of stuff that I've gotten to me. So, but yeah, that's all I have for today, and thanks for watching.